Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Noldy Hollywood, and I had my first experience of recording an entire video just to find out that the audio didn't work because I forgot that my iPhone is getting replaced, and I didn't have this handy-dandy Bose earbuds. Shout out to Bose. Been using them forever. But anyways, we move on. So, this is the first video in the self-help educational series. I've chosen to do the Law of Success in 16 Lessons as my first one. Let me grab it real quick. Boom. This has been my Bible forever. This is Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill, a.k.a. Nappy. And this is the 1925 manuscript by, I think it's Vex Publishing, Voix Publishing. I don't know. It starts with a V. It's got like an IEAOU in it, and then it ends with an X. But regardless, shout out to them. They were able to compile the original 1925 manuscripts. I also have the 1928 version of the Law of Success in 16 Lessons. Not that much different if you're involved with, let's say, the Global Information Network or the Napoleon Hill Foundation at all. You'll hear that there's like this big difference or a conspiracy. From what I've seen, it's the lesson 4 or 5, I think it's 4. In the 1928, there's a lesson called The Habit of Savings, which is great, and it's amazing. And then in here, lesson 4 is taking action, which is also amazing and great. But funny enough, what I also found out is that when you read the entire 1928 and you read the entire 1925, all that information is actually, almost all of it is in both books. They're just subsections of other lessons. So you'll actually get pretty much all the information. I love both the habit of saving and the taking action. Both, I think, are paramount for me personally in being successful in whatever it is that I do, whether it's money or physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, intimacy-wise, whatever it is. But regardless, this has been my Bible for a while now, except for a couple other books. I want to start this by saying that Napoleon Hill says something, I think, in every single version of the Law of Success in 16 Lessons. I'm not sure if he says it in Think and Grow Rich. By the way, if you're not entirely familiar with the Law of Success in 16 Lessons, there's this book out there called The Think and Grow Rich, or it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, the same author. And according to Wikipedia and probably some other reputable sources, The Think and Grow Rich is one of the best-selling books of all time. It's always like in the top 3, top 5, top 10, up there with like J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Ring books or Bible and things like that. Think and Grow Rich was, in my opinion, it was a more mainstream and entertaining version of the Law of Success in 16 Lessons. This is a more teethy version. This is where you can actually take your ideas and actually be like, okay, I have this idea of a business I want to create or what I want to do with my life. Read this book and then, boom, apply it. Because this was actually made for a course. It literally was made as a course to be taught in schools. Not sure if that ever actually happened, unfortunately. I think that if this kind of course was taught to me, in fucking whenever, I would have known about it or cared to be successful in my life, whether that's kindergarten, whether that's 6th grade, whether that's in college, the 2 semesters of college that I did. I think my life would have been radically different if there was a Napoleon Hill type of teacher that had things like this in a real practical level. Because I think that that's a huge problem, or could be, when it comes to a lot of schooling, at least in America, is that a lot of it's not practical. Like you spend 4, 5, 6 years learning about math or about social studies or English. And I'm not going to lie, you know, I paid attention in certain classes unconsciously. So like I'm really good at spelling and writing papers and like when it comes to grammatical things and writing books, like I could probably do that better than an average just person that dropped out of college. But for the most part, at least for me, school really didn't let me find out what it is that my purpose is here. And anyways, so going back to my original point, Napoleon Hill starts off, I think, every edition of the Law of Success by saying something that's very important. And when I read it, I was like, holy fuck me in the ass. Like, this is something that is so important. I think that if you approach any material, any book with this mindset, it'll, at least for me, it gives me more confidence and it makes me feel empowered that I can actually do something with this information. Like, let's say I don't fully grasp a concept that's explained in a book or explained in a classroom or something like that. I know that I have the power to take whatever it is. So Napoleon Hill said, The value is not lied in the information that's given. The value is not from reading this or from reading other books. The value lies in the thoughts that are stimulated in your head from the information. So it's not about reading this book and then taking a quiz on this book like, okay, Napoleon Hill said in lesson 4 of 16 that you have to either do what? A, B, C, or D. Does that sound a little familiar? That sounds a little familiar to me. But the value lies in the thoughts that it stimulates in your fucking head. That way you're not just reading unconsciously and just trying to remember information because there's a test you got to take and you better pass it so you can become a doctor in 6 years or whatever the fuck it is that's going to be. And nothing wrong with being a doctor. I'm just saying. Whatever. The value lies in the stimulated thoughts that it presents in your head. So, anyways, we're only going to cover the first lesson here, and we're going to do it briefly because I'm new at this. So, Law of Success in 16 Lessons. There is a quick quote that that this publishing company put right at the beginning. Ah, yes, I love that. So, and this is something that I think anybody that is familiar with Napoleon Hill's works has heard this or read this at some point. So anyways, who told you it couldn't be done? And what great achievement has he to his credit that qualifies him to judge your ability? Anybody that tells you it's not fucking possible, nobody's ever really told me that something isn't possible. I think where I've always lacked is just I haven't had encouragement. Boo-hoo for me. I don't think anybody's really been encouraged as much as possible. I remember this one time on Inside the Actor's Studio, my all-time favorite episode that I watch almost monthly is from Tom Cruise. Great thing, and there's something that he just said in passing that people can flourish. He says people can flourish with love, and then he retracts it and he says people do flourish with love, with encouragement and love and a family that really allows you to believe in yourself and believe in everybody else. And every time I hear that, I'm just like, that is probably so fucking true. But I'm not going to try to say that I wish my life was different because I'm glad I'm here. I've spent time in jail. I've spent time in prison. I've spent time in inpatient and outpatient programs. I didn't even find out that self-help was a thing until I was 24, my first extended visit in a jail, in an incarceration community, and I had my dad send me a book that my stepfather wanted me to read when I was like 13, and I was just way too young to understand the material at all. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, definitely my foundation. Anytime my life or my world or my universe or my thoughts completely goes to shit, I always start with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but after that, this is my fucking Bible right here. Anyways, who told you it couldn't be done? And what great achievement has he to his credit that qualifies his ability to judge? Shit. Anyways, where's my marker? Am I even going to find my marker now? Let's see here. Maybe there's just a different marker. Maybe I'll just use the black one. Get this fucker rolling. Is this dry erase? Yeah, this is dry erase. So anyways. There it is. Found it. So, first lesson, Napoleon Hill. And I'm going to kind of explain briefly probably why he feels that this is the most important thing. He goes on in the book, obviously, to explain why this is number one. He does do these lessons in a sequential format, so he's not just saying like, oh, you got to do this and you got to do that. Even though every lesson is pivotal and paramount and very important, and like a pillar of success, it could easily be called the 15 or 16 pillars of success. He chose lessons because this was supposed to be a course on success. Please, if there's anybody out there that can somehow put this into motion and even some sort of fucking community college in the valley or something, get this shit started. I will do whatever I can to help, teach, donate money, whatever. Anyway, so first lesson, a definite purpose. A definite. You know what? You know what we're going to do? We're going to go like this. A definite purpose. And I just realized that this is not going to look good to you guys at all. How do people do that then? They don't draw like in a fucking... Anyways, a definite purpose is number one. In his opinion, it's before anything else. Now, to digress for a brief moment, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there is something that the author Stephen Covey mentions, and he says that when you're figuring out what it is that you want to do, or whatever your definition of success is, or whatever you're going to write down in a goal that you're going to aim for, you don't necessarily invent it. And this rings true for me. You don't necessarily invent it. You don't invent like an arbitrary purpose where it's like, okay, I want to have $1 million within 5 years. I want to have a beautiful, proportionate, and consistent physique, aesthetically pleasing physique, and I want a whole bunch of friends. Now, if that's something that pumps you up, you're not inventing it. You're more detecting it. And that's exactly what Stephen Covey says in the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You're not inventing your purposes. You're not inventing why it is you're here. You're detecting it. And in my opinion, I believe that detecting comes from having an emotional response and getting fucking excited about what it is that you want to do and what it is you're going to do. Uh-oh. This is going to be fucked. I can scrunch down. Okay. So, a definite purpose. So back in the day, I don't know if he meant for it to be a bunch of different definite purposes, but he said a definite purpose. So A in this context usually means one. So we're just talking about one overarching goal that at least every single day you're probably going to work towards. You're going to be excited about it. And he has different techniques on how to get excited about it and how to make it happen every single day. Definite. This is something that, for me, I violate every day because I can't keep my mind straight. I can't just be like, okay, every single day we're going to work towards the same thing. I'm going to be excited about it every single day. But that's something that is just paramount. Definite. The shit doesn't change until it's fucking accomplished, until it's happened. Definite. I need to tell myself every single day, definite. But anyways, a definite. So one singular thing that's never changing. It's constant, consistency. Fucking A, my brother tells me every goddamn day, consistency is the cost of success. I've never been consistent about anything, except for working out. Love the gym. But anyways, purpose. I had already briefly gone over that, so a lot of times you detect instead of invent your purpose. I think purpose has a lot to do with a lot of the different hereditary things that you're born with, whether it's if you were born from a certain nationality or a certain race, and then also how you were brought up and how you were bred. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. That can be true in some circumstances. And just what gets you excited personally today? What gets you excited today? Brian Tracy has a groundbreaking book out called, this was published probably 10 years ago now, No Excuses. It's a book on self-discipline. So, what was I going to say? The concept that he does early on in the book is he says, don't project out what you think that you want 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Today, if you were to look at your life today, what would it be that you'd want to change about your life? What is it that you'd want to have now in terms of physicality, mentally, socially, emotionally, intimacy-wise, financially? If you had your, as he calls it, ideal life right now, what would it be now? Not what would it be in 5, 10, 15, 20 fucking years from now. What would be your ideal right now? And I think that that's something that I struggle with too, because I've been bred and born to understand that building wealth takes an extremely long time. It's going to take 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I have a grandfather that even though he's turning 80 next year, he's still building houses. This motherfucker will be up at like 7 a.m. and he's almost 80, and he'll be on a roof by the time it's like 8:30. He already has his bacon and fucking eggs in, and he's building like the 56th house of his lifetime, of his life career. It's insane. So I've kind of just seen that as my reality. Like, okay, if I'm going to be successful, I got to pick something. I got to stick at it for 70 years. And I'll be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor when I'm an old fuck who hates everybody. Shout out to my grandfather. But I'm starting to believe that that's not necessarily the case. And the more you focus on your definite chief aim, definite purpose, then the quicker it's going to come and the more you're going to create your own circumstances for that definite purpose. I say definite chief aim because in other editions of the Law of Success, and I think in Think and Grow Rich as well, a definite chief aim was either his original or his revised way of saying a definite purpose. I like a definite purpose because it's more broad. Purpose can be not necessarily a specific goal, but it can just be like this overarching philosophy of life, your definite purpose. But a definite chief aim, that gets you a little bit more exact. You know, that's going to be like, okay, my definite chief, above everything else, aim, my goal, what am I going to be going for? But either way, you know, whatever makes you more comfortable, whatever you emotionally get excited about. I'll just go over one technique, and then I'm going to let this video go to the public and see if I was able to help even one single person or whatever. A technique that he identified and prescribed to this lesson, almost tripped there, lesson one, a definite purpose, is called autosuggestion. So autosuggestion is where you write down or you make up or you think up a thought, and you keep saying it to yourself over and over and over and over fucking again until you believe it. And this is something that, because that definite thing is hard for me, I think it's because I fall off with the autosuggestion. So the theory goes, and a lot of people that I know can attest to this, is that when you think of a thought, like let's say, I think the gym stuff is going to be easy for me because I believe that I can have the physique that I want. If I want a aesthetic bodybuilder type physique where everything's proportioned, everything's muscular tone, whatever, as long as I keep saying that to myself over and over again every single day, obviously not like all the way throughout the day, but Napoleon Hill suggests that it's at least in the morning when you first wake up and then before you go to sleep. And your auto-suggestion, because you say it to yourself over and over again, that will eventually seep into your subconscious. And when I thought about that, like, because I've always wondered, like, why do I act the way I act? Why do people see me the way that they see me? Why is my life where it's at right now? And I think a lot of it has to do with my subconscious and taking action that I don't realize why I'm doing it or that I'm even doing it, and things that are going on below my conscious, below my thoughts that I can actually identify that I'm thinking. And when I found out that, okay, so the subconscious is probably from your surroundings and the thoughts that you've been thinking over and over and over and over and over again coming up in this world. And autosuggestion is your tool against it. So if I keep telling myself, I'll have a aesthetic bodybuilder body, I'll have an aesthetic bodybuilder body, I'll have an aesthetic bodybuilder body, I'll have an aesthetic bodybuilder body, the more I say it, the more I say I'll have an aesthetic bodybuilder body, the more I'm going to start believing it. And belief and the mind is so powerful. When it was Napoleon Hill, my boy, Law of Success in 16 Lessons, boom. His most famous quote of all time, I think I've heard more than anything else: anything the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. Anything the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. The only thing with that, and I'll leave you with this, is that there was a little bit more to that quote that nobody likes to talk about because I don't think it sounds as good, or they don't think it sounds as good in terms of selling books or making money, but I should have found it maybe another time so I can actually prove it. But anything the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve with two qualifying, and this is a direct quote from what I remember, or maybe it's paraphrasing, with two qualifying words: within reason. So let me say that again without the paraphrasing. Anything the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve within reason. And he goes on to explain that within reason takes into account your temperament, your functionality in this world, your adaptability, and several other character traits that that we'll go into, definitely, just not in this video. I think that this is good enough. I think that hopefully I get some feedback and I find out if I helped one single person. And remember what I kicked this video off by, and I may kick every single video off by in the educational series, and that's the value is not lied in what I'm giving to you, what Napoleon Hill gave to me or is giving to you. The value lies in the fucking stimulus thoughts that it creates in you, and then of course the action that you take afterwards. Anyways, Noldy Hollywood, don't forget to subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I love you all. Leave comments. Let me know. Take care.